Hello students, in this audio session I will discuss the broad questions from landscape of the soul. So let me continue with the very first broad question. How does the Chinese view of art differ from the European view? Illustrate your answer with examples. That is the main difference between the European art and the Chinese art. A Western figurative painting is meant to reproduce an actual view of the scene. That is, it is based on realism or realistic things. Whereas a classical Chinese landscape is based on imaginative, inner or spiritual approach. So whereas the Western painting, figurative painting, is based on realistic approach, or we can say it tends towards to be a bit of realism or realistic, whereas the Chinese landscape is based on imaginative, inner or spiritual approach. It is much more spiritual. That is the reason I already told you that if you want to judge the painting of a Chinese painter, you have to enter his mind. You have to delve deeper into his mind. The Chinese art aims at achieving the essence of inner life and spirit. Essence, the real essence of spirituality can be seen in case of the Chinese painting. While the European form of art is trying to achieve a perfect illusionistic likeness, and that can be seen in the paintings of Quentin Messias with the way he drew the fly on the painting canvas. It seems very real. There lies the concept of illusionistic likeness. The European painter wants the viewer to borrow his eyes. I already told you in my previous audios that the European painter always wants to guide you. He wants you all to borrow his eyes and look at a particular landscape exactly as he saw it. And he wants you all to follow his direction and to see a particular form of art, or rather specifically a particular landscape exactly the way he saw it. That means he doesn't give you the freedom or the liberty to interpret that form of landscape art on your own. He wants you all to borrow his eyes, and he self-directs you all to appreciate the painting from his own point of view. You can't appreciate from your own point of view. On the other hand, the Chinese painter does not choose a single viewpoint. That is the reason you can enter the painting from whichever way you can. His landscape is not a real one. That means his landscape is not a realistic one, but it is very much spiritual and conceptual also. It is related with conceptual space, spirit and conceptual space. He does not want the viewer to borrow his eyes, unlike the European painter. He wants the beholder. Behold means the one who looks at someone. Beholder means the one who looks at the painting. So he wants the beholder to enter his mind. One can enter a Chinese landscape from any point and move across leisurely and come back. The Chinese view of art also requires an active participation of the viewer. Yes. Now, in case of Chinese painting, if you want to appreciate a Chinese painting, there should be a spiritual and mental exercise of your mind and senses. Then only you can appreciate. You have to follow the painter inside the mind of the painter, inside his inner spirit and soul, in order to appreciate a Chinese painting. The Chinese view of art also requires an active participation of the viewer. The participation, I already told you all, is both physical as well as mental. The stories about the paintings of Wu Daozi and an old story from Flanders amply illustrate the difference. That is the dragon episode and obviously the mysterious disappearance of Wu Daozi, the famous 8th century Chinese painter, inside his own painting. These two can aptly illustrate the main difference. Now, I am moving on to the second question, that is the concept of San Shui and the fundamental notions of Daoism. Very important CBSE question this is. concept of San Shui, mountain water, as you know, and the concept of Daoism, yin and yang. That one also is very much clear to you by this time. So let me just go through it so that the concept be more clear. Side by side, some info I will give you as well as I will discuss it. So San Shui is a Chinese word. It literally means mountain water. And mountain water, if you closely see it, it is consists of two essential elements, mountain and water, yin and yang. So let me continue. So mountain water used together represent the word landscape. Mountain and water are two elements of an image. They also reflect the Taoist view of the universe. The mountain is yang. I already referred to it in one of my previous audios. And yin is actually the feminine. Previously I told you all about this. The mountain rises vertically towards heaven. Mountain is stable, warm and dry in the sun. Water is horizontal and rests on the earth. Water is fluid, moist and cool, and water is feminine. So remember about horizontal and vertical. This is very, very important. So let me continue. It is the mountain that is vertical, whereas the yin, that is feminine one, it is the horizontal, that is water. Water is horizontal, mountain is vertical. Mountain is yang and water is yin. Remember it. Now their interaction of yin and yang is the fundamental notion of Daoism. There lies the concept of the white unpainted part of the Chinese landscape. There lies the concept of Daoism. There lies the concept of the middle void region. The interaction of yin and yang is the fundamental notion of Daoism. There is an essential third element also. It is the middle void where their interaction takes place. I just now told you all regarding this. This middle void is very much essential. Nothing can happen without it. Nothing can happen. Exactly, nothing can happen without this middle void region. The concept of the middle void can be made clear by comparison to the yogic practice of pranayam, that is, breathe in, retain and breathe out. This retain part or suspension of breath, as been told previously in one of my audios, this retain part or this suspension of breath is actually the concept of middle void. The concept of middle void can be made clear by comparison to the yogic practice of pranayam. We breathe in, breath, retain breath and breathe out. Now I already told you about the suspension of breath is actually the middle void concept. So here it is written already. The suspension of breath is the void where meditation occurs. Hence the white unpainted space has a special importance in Chinese landscape. So we can say that the white unpainted space has a special importance in Chinese landscape. Dear students, in my next audio, I will discuss the last question from Landscape of the Soul. Listen to this audio and clear your doubts. Thank you, students. Thank you all.